All right. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. My name is Anthony Ho from LPMD Architects, and we are the designer of these homes. I am going to show my slides right now. So this project is on 171 to 175 Monroe Street. Here's the aerial map. It's very close to the corner of Manchester and Monroe. Right behind us is the park. In front is the cemetery. And Monroe here, Manchester here. So there's the aerial view. And existing, there are two single-family homes. And the existing zoning is single-family zoning, R16L. And what we are proposing to do is to rezone it to planned development, a PD. And if anyone has question about that, we can further talk about that later on in the Q&A session. This is one of the home, is an older home, and we have done a historical report on this, and is deemed as not a significant structure, historical-wise. This is another one. And actually, they're in pretty poor condition, both the inside and outside. So what we are proposing to do is to demolish those two older homes and put in 8 new homes. The 2 red ones in the front, Monroe Street is on the left here. These 2 red ones are 2-story homes. They are about 1,400 square feet with a 2-car garage. And we placed the 2-story in the front. And then at the back, there are 6 other homes that are 3-story at about 2,000 square feet living area, also with a 2-car garage each. And we intentionally placed them at the back so that the visual impact to Monroe Street is minimized. We have provided 2 guest parking spaces off this main drive. And this is meeting the city requirement. City requirement is every home needs 1/4 of a parking space. So when we have 8 homes, we need 2 guest parking spaces. This is the 3-story floor plan. From the left is first floor, 2-car garage, a small bedroom, and a stair going up. Second floor, you see the living spaces, mainly. And on the 3rd floor, you see 3 bedrooms. This is the 2-story plan. On the left is the first floor, 2-car garage, only living spaces. On the first floor, you go up the stairs, and here you get 3 bedrooms. Each house, we are going to be installing a level 2 EV charger. And it comes with the house. It's not option or anything, but we will provide that. And they also will be equipped with overhead storage. That's because we know that very often we see homeowners packing their garages with stuff, and then they park outside. They either park on the street or they use up the guest parking stall, which we don't want to happen. We don't want any parking to spill over to other people. So we provide them these spaces so that they can now park inside their garage. This is the look of a 3-story home. We have 2 styles. One is more of a stucco Spanish with red roof tile. The other one is a more of a woodsy look and a calm shingle roof. And you see here is the 2-story home design. Again, 2 versions. One is with stucco and red tile roof. The other one is more woodsy with calm shingle roof. And this is the sketch when you see from Monroe in the front. Again, you only see the two-story home in the front. And this is the main drive coming in and out. And we intentionally do these styles so that it matches the old quartz architecture. And also, we don't want one single material throughout. We want it to be a mixture of a Spanish and a craftsman look so that it feels more like a custom design throughout. This is a landscape plan. Again, Monroe Street on the left, main drive down the middle. As you can see, our landscape designer has really put in a lot of thoughts into making sure that everywhere we really planned it well and designed it well. And I will show you the backyard area. This is one of the backyard area, a typical backyard. Is about 15 feet dimension this way, and this way is more than 20-something feet. And you can see it's easily fitting a couch, a sectional sofa, and barbecue stove. So plenty of space, and whatever they can want to do here, they can. And you can grow things as well. And here's the other typical yard. Again, is about 15 by 15. And also, you can do barbecue and some gathering at the back. This is to show you the front entry design. When you first come in from Monroe, there are nice accent trees in the front. And at the terminus of the drive, at the very end, we will suggest of putting some specimen tree and also some furniture back there that people can take a seat and with maybe some pots, some pot plants. We have received a few comments from our neighbors, and I want to address that a little bit here before we go to the Q&A. One of the issues that was brought up was about privacy. And we are thinking there are a couple ways we can resolve that. First, on the second and third floor of the three-story homes, right now we have windows facing our neighbors to the north and to the south. And we can rotate the windows to the side like this and keep the side facing our neighbor to have only high windows so they can't peek out and look into the neighbors too easily. Same thing on the third floor. We can rotate the windows around. For the two-story plan, same thing, but we've already done that, actually, this one. On the second floor, we already have high windows only facing our neighbors, and the big window is facing the side. So this one is already done. And while we are suggesting that, the other option is that we actually can use plants as screening device. And we have our landscape architect here with us on the panel. And if you have any question, he is ready to answer any question you might have. And we can grow Italian cypress, which is a very narrow foliage area. And the root system is not very big. And they can grow as screens because they're evergreen and they are dense and they can get tall. And the reason why we suggest this is that some people might not like to see, if we don't have windows facing them, they might not like to see the big wall either. So maybe they'll choose to have plants instead. So we like to work with our neighbor to see which way we end up doing. Because when we analyze the site again, this is our site. And our neighbor here, just to give you a sense of scale, our lot is 100 feet wide. So each lot, each house here is 50 feet wide. And so you can see that the distance from this, our neighbor's piece, to us, there's another 60 feet easily. So we're talking about windows 60-something feet away from our windows. The closest one are these two. And as you see here, this is a small window. That one might be the most, has most concern possibly because it's bigger window. And that's about maybe 15 feet away. I guess the drive here is about 15 feet wide maximum. So maybe we will, discuss with the neighbor here if there's a concern about whether we use the plant to screen it or we rotate the windows. And we're open to either way. And later on, we might ask our planner, Namisha, who is in attendance right now with us, to facilitate that discussion. And we also received some comments or questions regarding construction noise and dust. And we'd like to address that here because the city has some standard measures for us to stick to. So for this particular project, when we have residential use so close to us, we can only do constructions not confined within the building. That means construction outside from 7 to 6 on weekdays. And when it's within a building, we can do 7 to 6 on weekdays, except holidays. And we can do Saturdays as well, 9 to 6. And absolutely no construction on holidays or Sundays. The builder has to collect and pick up all the trash and debris on site and adjacent public right-of-way. The builder also needs to incorporate best management practices into the construction plans to ensure they can control the water pollution. They also need to incorporate post-construction water runoff measures. And of course, they need to comply with mitigation measures such as air quality, transportation, noise, etc. Those will be part of a document, a secret document, as part of the project application. We received some neighbors' comments about or questions about how we deal with the trees, existing tree on site. So this is a diagram to show you the existing trees. And let me go to the next page here. We have an arborist report, and the arborist has surveyed each tree and reported their health conditions, whether they are suitable for retention or not. And as you can see here, a lot of them are written as poor structure, not suitable for retention and all that. But let's go back to this diagram. The green ones are the ones that are a little more healthy, and the brown ones are the ones that are in poor conditions. Well, I want you to note that out in the front, even though we very much like to keep the tree, but they are in conflict with a city sidewalk, the future city sidewalk, which will be a problem. And that's why we have to remove those, unless public work can do something about that. But right now we see some conflict there. And these two, the other two, they are just too close to either the fence or the house. And this one is too close to the drive as well. And so it's hard to keep those. And that's why we propose to remove them. The timeline of the project, right now we're in July. The next 5 months, we will have to do environmental studies, which includes air quality, noise, traffic, and so on. We've already done the historical report, and so we hope to meet the Historic Landmark Commission in October. And only after we get through Historical Landmark Commission can we go to Planning Commission. So maybe sometime November, and then City Council will be following that, usually a month out. And after that, the project sponsor will need to do construction documents for plan check purpose, and that will take a few months' time. And that will stretch all the way up to next year's March. And then we need time for plan check, the city plan check. And so a few months of plan check will push it out to July next year. And so the construction soonest the start of construction is August of 2022, and it might take a little more than a year to November 2023. So that concludes my presentation here. And again, the panelists contains myself, Jay Isaacson, who is the landscape designer, and Mr. Arumili, he is the landowner. And we also have Namisha and also Gloria from the city planning side. So I think Namisha will handle the sequencing of who is the speaker to speak next.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, they can raise their hand using the Zoom function here, and we can take the questions in that order they were received. So I do see one raised hand, and I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hello, this is Al from 177 board. Thank you for sharing your plans and addressing some of our questions. Actually, most of the questions were from us. Firstly, the solution about privacy, moving the windows and adding high trees, that Italian cypress that you mentioned. Yeah, that sounds nice. But still my concern is when you do some research, the average household in Santa Clara County is about 2.5 people. Or average family, including people living outside, is 3.5 people. I still, and like when we look around in our neighborhood, mostly we see 2-story buildings. The question here is the third floor a necessity in some way? I'm asking this both to our county and the building team. And what's the reason for that being a necessity, if it's a necessity? And even the rezoning and rebuilding 8 buildings from 2 buildings, given Santa Clara County is growing slowly over the last few years, even sometimes shrinking. How can you explain the third story in 3 of the buildings? We are having a hard time understanding that.
Yes. Maybe Namisha can chime in. What I need to mention is that the general plan of this site is medium density residential, which is 20 to 36 units an acre. And Namisha, correct me if I'm wrong. And right now our density is barely reaching that. It's at 20.2 units an acre. And that is with 8 units. And so so the reason why we have 8 units first is to be in that range between 20 to 36, and we're at the very low end range. And secondly, when you look at the site plan here, in order to get 8, we already is making, of course, if you want to lose a floor, you have to, in order to make the house to work, you have to make the footprint bigger, So when you make the footprint bigger, we don't have the space because we barely have a lot of setback to the park at the back. The distance between the houses is per building code. We cannot shrink that anymore. And we have a front setback to meet. And so to meet the density of the general plan and to get a footprint that is workable, because right now you can see these are 2-car garages and the stairs. So there's hardly any space left. So that is why the building is squeezed to the 3rd floor. And as you can see here in the front, these are two-story homes. And these are only two-story because it's a bigger footprint. You can see this is slightly bigger than this one. So we have already tried our best to get them as low as possible and to meet the density within that general plan. I don't know whether, Nimisha, you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, so basically what, as Anthony mentioned, they are trying to keep some open space available on the parcel, and while at the same time also making sure that they are meeting the parking requirements. So each home has a 2-car garage, and there is 2 additional guest parking spaces. So to accommodate all of that and maintain the density in the general plan, that's how they have reached the site plan, and that is why they would need the 3-story construction to the back of the buildings, to the back of the units that are in the back.
Right, it's these 6 here, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand, but I should say we are concerned with the 3rd stories anyways. So that's still there, and I don't think we can resolve it at this point. So we can pass to our next question if no one has anything.
Sure.
So the next person I see that have her hand raised is Debbie. Debbie, you're unmuted now.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if this was the appropriate time. I was calling in support of the project. So if there's anybody else that had more questions, I can put my hand down and you can call me towards the end.
I think that's fine. You can just share your comments.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, I'm actually pleased that the developer spent the time on trying to support what questions and that the neighbors had. And I feel that because this project is in the midst of other higher density than the 2 single family homes that were there, I'm just really pleased that he's taken this. And that's all I needed to say.
Thank you. The next person is Ross. Ross, you're unmuted now.
Yes. I live at 177 Monroe with Alp, and I have concerns about the 3-story as well. The other thing I also have concern about is the parking, because currently there's 2 houses on these 2 properties, and now you're going to have 8. And the parking, they're not going to fit all their cars in those garages. They're going to park out on the street. That's what I'm concerned about. Because currently there's a blind turn right on Monroe Street. Right so when we exit our driveway, we can barely see out the driveway because of the cars parked right next to our driveway.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So I think they should have more parking spaces inside their complex, in my opinion, not just 2, maybe 1 for each building. Because most people in this area can't afford to live in a house. I mean, the prices of houses are expensive in Santa Clara County, so they're most likely going to have multiple people living in their house, not just 2 people or a family. Those are my 2 concerns.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
Anthony, do you want to respond to that, or should I move on to the next person? Do you want to provide a response to that?
Let's hear the next person's comment. Yeah.
Okay. So the next person is Mila. Mila, you're unmuted now. Mila, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Okay, we can try and come back to Mila. The next person is Steve Kelly.
I understand. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have Mila.
Sorry. I live on Manchester Drive. I own a duplex here for many years. I have several concerns about this project. First of all, I think it's too much on this piece of property. We're in a drought situation here in the county, and we are there periodically. And to replace 2 single-family homes with 4 homes, I think is impractical. These are called single-family homes. This is not a neighborhood of single-family homes. This is a neighborhood of duplexes, triplexes, and small apartments. And I really think that to call these single-family homes is a real stretch. The setbacks on these is quite minimal. It might be code, but I know when I wanted to expand my duplex several years ago, I had to get a variance to go within 8 feet of the property line. This in the back, I think, is 4 feet setbacks. On the side and the front, I think they're less than 6 feet setbacks. The space between the buildings is quite small. If I recall, it's about 8 feet. So it's more like a condo with no common walls. And so I think it's strange to put single family homes in a neighborhood that is not single family homes. I too have concerns about the 3 stories. I think if you think by setting them back off the street, nobody's going to notice that they're 3 stories. I think you're fooling them yourselves. And again, within the neighborhood, there are no 3-story buildings. The buildings on Monroe Street within the general area are 2 stories. On Manchester and Highland, they're 1 story and 2 stories. So I think 3 stories is not in keeping with the neighborhood. So I have a problem with that. I also agree on the parking situation, and I understand you're making a big deal over having 2-car garages and even storage, which is up high, so it's not easily accessible. But most of the duplexes, or all of the duplexes on Manchester and Highland, actually have 2 parking places. They have an enclosed garage and a driveway in front of the garage. You don't have any driveways. You just have a street and a garage. And you have 2 parking spaces for guests, which I can guarantee you are not going to be used for guests. It's disingenuous for you to believe that the residents in that area would not be using those parking places. And the flyer that you actually sent out shows the parking situation without those 8 homes there. It's not infrequent that my neighbor will ask me in the evening, are you going to be out? My daughter would like to come over, but there's no place to park on the street. And that's already with having only 2 homes there around the corner without having the 8. So I think this is just inappropriate use of that area there, and I'm very much opposed to it.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. We originally started the project. Our belief all throughout is that we see that when we have multifamily, let's say if we pull these buildings together and it becomes like more like one continuous building, and that comparing that to breaking them up into smaller pieces, we feel that this is actually give more chance that people have yard around them, and they can actually help to watch out for the neighborhood, and therefore kind of making this a safe place to live in. So that's what us and the property owner believe, and that's how we started with this product. We wanted to be more smaller and broken up, and then people have land around them. So it's a different concept than a condo building like the one to the north of us, and it's just two different school of thoughts, and so this is when we chose this product. At that time, we first actually started with all of them at 3-story, and we worked with city planning for quite a while. And later on, we come up with the solution of making the front as 2-story to lessen the visual impact. So that's the kind of the history of where it came from. So yeah, that's all I have to say about about the site planning portion of it.
Yeah. So next person who has a raised hand is Steve Kelly.
Yes, I'd like to make a couple comments. First off, I do like the woodsy style over the stucco. I think that's my preference. I'd also like to comment, I would not like to see more multi-family housing in this location because I think pride of ownership is important. Having people there that have a vested interest is important. I also think you should go with 3 stories because I'm tired of seeing things crammed together with no space in between. And we do need the housing. We have an utter lack of housing. As far as the parking, I'm okay with 2 spots, but I would like to see something in like the CC&Rs for the project that people have to keep this available for guests. And I want to thank you for using the overhead storage. I've been telling people, put overhead storage. I have overhead storage in my garage, and I can park 2 cars in my garage because I put in the storage. And I wish my neighbors would do it because a lot of my neighbors don't have overhead storage and they can only fit 1 car or not even 1 car in because they don't put storage where it's needed. So I want to thank you for putting in overhead storage. If you have room for maybe a couple cabinets on one side, that would be a plus too. And I want to ask, are the plants that you're going to be planting drought tolerant?
Yeah, Mr. Kelly, I will defer that to Mr. Isaacson, our landscape architect. So Nimisha, is he ready to speak?
Isaacson, you can unmute yourself and speak at any time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are using drought tolerant plant material, and the plants that I've selected are within the approved list of the county for use for this type of an application. They are listed as moderate to low water use, and they're also compatible with the stormwater treatment requirements for the project. So they will meet those requirements, and we should also end up with a good variety of plant material also that has flowering interest and foliage interest in all 4 seasons. So yes, we are using drought tolerant plant material.
Thank you, Mr. Isaacson.
The next person with a raised hand is Robert. Robert, you're unmuted now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I am impressed with this design. I think you've done an excellent job of infill development. One thing we are short of is single family homes. They seem to be go on the market and are sold almost before they're on the market. So we're desperately short of single family homes. And you have really done an excellent job here of, in an infill project, providing those. And I am impressed with the layout. My one question is just how would the ownership of these be? Are these going to be postage stamp lots or a common ownership, or how would that work? But I am strongly impressed with how well you have created 8 single family homes with adequate parking and adequate private recreational areas, patios for people to enjoy. So thank you for this design.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. At this moment, what we envision, and of course we have to talk to a CCNR specialist to write the CCNR, and we probably will, because we have guest parking and we have a common drive, and the terminus has some landscaping, and in the front we have landscaping, so we definitely, most likely, I would say, we have an HOA. And then we have 8 separate lots for individual lots, and then 1 common lot. And that is the plan our civil engineer has submitted to the city so far. So there are 9 lots, 1 being the common lot.
Okay, moving on. The next person with the raised hand is Kevin. Kevin, you're unmuted now.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to speak in favor of the project. In general, there's a very large housing shortage in the area, and being able to build this many homes on a lot is helpful in that regard. I'm also impressed with them being single family homes rather than a large apartment building. As a home buyer and recent renter, I appreciate that, especially in this area of Santa Clara, where around there's a lot of apartment buildings. The current houses there, I've lived in one, a lot of character, but not in really good shape. The land is relatively underutilized. So it makes sense for these homes to be built into something newer and more space efficient. I think that this would go a long way to, well, it'll be a drop in the bucket in a way, but it'll help for the home prices and housing shortage in the area. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Linda. Linda, you're unmuted now.
Oh, did you unmute me for some reason?
No.
Maybe my hand just stayed up. Sorry for that.
No, you're fine. Okay. Linda, did you want to make any comments? Share your concerns? Okay. We can come back to you. The next person is Mike.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for presenting this plan. I think this is a very good plan. I'm completely in support of it. The two houses that are currently there are in very, very poor condition. I had friends that lived in one of those units for a number of years, and the houses are just worn out. I really like the 8 smaller individual structures versus the giant fortress-looking condo building like we have at Benton and Monroe. That's to me is a total eyesore. Each house is going to have its own little backyard, private backyard. Hopefully, you will look at maybe putting in AstroTurf or something there to lessen the water impact. And by having their own backyards, people can actually have a barbecue at their own house with guests and not have to utilize the city parks, which would definitely lessen the impact on our city parks. The garage is equipped with level 2 EV chargers is just absolutely fantastic. I'm a much older person, and I'm actually looking at potentially purchasing an electric vehicle. So I think that is just absolutely spot on. The lawn in the front, hopefully you would look at, if you are going to put lawn there, hopefully you would actually look at some type of AstroTurf. Again, that will lessen water usage. I heard you say that you do plan to have CC&Rs and a homeowners association. I strongly encourage that. That will help keep the area from getting run down and looking, drabby after a few years. But this type of housing is strongly needed. And in Milpitas, this is absolutely all they're building over there right now. If you go over by the Great Mall, this floor plans where the steps go up to the bedroom and then the living spaces are on another floor is wonderful use of such small space. So I really like this plan, and I thank you for presenting it to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walk.
Thank you. So the next speaker, Linda, you're unmuted now. Linda, we cannot hear you.
So Namisha, it looks like Linda's still having problems. If she's in by phone only, can you either press *6 or *9 to unmute yourself? Sometimes it depends on how you join. *6, yeah.
Yeah, try *6. Yes. Thank you, Gloria.
Oh, okay. So is Linda, are you on now? Let's see here.
Linda, if you're not able to speak, or there's having audio issues, you can just type in your comments and we can address them that way. Or try pressing *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, we'll move to the next person, and then we can come back to you, or you can type your questions or concerns in the chat box.
Or do you want to send her the link to maybe join again? Sometimes it all depends. I know she said she made some comments in that she joined through the phone. And she did have a comment, but I would prefer that people have a chance to speak. Is there any way you could cut and paste the link again into the chat?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
In the meantime, we'll just keep going, and Mark, you can speak next.
Unmute. Can we hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to compliment the designer on this project here. All the things that I'm looking for in places, your own private little yard where you can barbecue and you can have your family and friends over, to the garage setup. I wish I'd thought about that overhead space a long time ago. I wouldn't have been looking like a hoarder all the time. You know what I mean? I just think they did a lot of nice things here that make moving in comfortable, that I can see moving from where I am to moving to a new place. If it's not in this one, somebody else that'll design something this nice. That's basically what I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Linda, I have shared the link to the meeting. You can copy that link and try to rejoin, or use the phone to dial in to the meeting. And Brian, you're next. Okay, for some reason, Brian, I'm not able to unmute you. So, okay, there you go. Brian, you can speak now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'd like to share my excitement for this project. I really like the attractiveness of the architecture. I think it looks like a home versus a building. I like it's detached units. The fact that there's a backyard. I think all that helps give a resident of the people a sense of a home, as opposed to just living in a high density building. Also, I think it shows forward thinking and creativity that they've included the EV chargers and the garage storage. So again, I'd like to just share my excitement for the project and hope you all feel the same as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldenberg.
Thank you. Okay. So the next person is Allison. Oops.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Well, I wanted to share my feedback tonight in favor of the project, and I'm coming from the point of view of having rented the smaller house at 171 Monroe for more than 12 years. I know firsthand that this property has so much more potential than what it is now. I also think it's important to say that that was not my house. It was the little yellow one. But I have a lot of sentiment for this old house and the character, but both of the houses on this property are in rough condition. And there really is a tremendous amount of wasted space. Seeing the design, one of the things that I appreciate is that the architecture of the project was really thoughtful about being in the style of the neighborhood. The old quad area is just such a great area with so much history. And there are so many massive modern condo and apartment buildings that have sprung up that I think it's great that these are single family homes with yards. That really was one of the things I loved about living there, was having that outdoor space. And personally, I do like the design, which feels like it creates a small community. And I think it'll be a great add for the neighborhood. Having lived there for so long, I know this project has been a long time coming, and I know years of thought and effort have been invested on the design, and I think it shows. So I'm really glad to have been one of the last residents of the little yellow house at 171. I loved it then. I still love it, but I really do believe that it's time for this property to be refreshed so it can become something better for its new residents and for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Talley.
Thank you. We will try, Linda, looks like you rejoined. Can you unmute yourself, Linda? Linda, we cannot hear you still. Are you joining by phone? Linda, is there a phone number that you're joining with that I should try and provide permission? Or, okay. Yes, you are. Okay, there you go. You should be able to speak now. And you can press.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I can't believe it. This is the longest call to ever get on. I apologize to everybody. I just wanted to say a few things. Number one, there was a gentleman, I think, named Robert, who spoke and was talking about housing, and I agree. We do need some housing. This particular area, I think, is a perfect spot. I think that they took a lot of time and a lot of thought went into this project. I love it. I'm in favor of it, and I really love that overhead storage. And again, I apologize. It took me so long. I was having computer errors, or I should say user error, but I love this project.
No, thank you. Thank you. We are happy that you were able to speak.
Thank you.
I know. Thank you. Thank you guys too. And thank you. I think this is really beautiful.
Thank you for the wait. Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
Okay, next hand is Margie. Margie, you can unmute yourself and speak whenever you're ready. Margie, if you're dialing in, then you let me know the phone number so I can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Did you hear me at all earlier?
No, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was just saying, I'm a homeowner here at 177 Monroe Street, and I'm going to echo the same concerns that my neighbors in this community have already expressed in reference to the parking situation that we have. It's a huge issue here, not just, with direct neighbors, but, just up and down the street. So I really hope that, with the garage situation and, possible extra parking that you are speaking about in regarding this, new development, is directly next to us here. will not impact it, any further. But if we're going to be honest, it's just going to add to, the difficulty of the parking situation. So I really hope that that is taken into further consideration as this development, progresses. The other issue or question, I guess, that I would have is I'm sitting here in my living room and my window faces the blue house, next to me. And as I'm looking out the window, I can see the top of the roof of the blue house, but I can also see blue skies and green trees. So, 2 stories or 3 stories, going up, that is going to definitely change, my view moving down the line. And that was, one of the things that I really appreciate about my home and being able to sit here and be able to look out and, see the beauty of nature, from inside my home. But now all I'm going to do is stare at a concrete or wooden wall. And that is just not going to be remedied in, anyway. And so I really don't care, for this development coming up at all. But I understand that it's already in the works. So I don't know that, how that can be, remedied to make it, I guess, less impactful, how it's going to affect, us here directly. And I guess now I'm going and referring into the privacy situation. It's not just the windows, how the gentleman earlier was talking about the distance between windows to the next, window across the way. It's also our patios. We are also in the courtyard area. So that is also, a privacy situation that, whether it's just 2 or 3 story windows, they can, look over. And I know that one of the options that you are offering to help that are the evergreens. I personally don't like the evergreens. I feel like they attract a lot of insects, spiders, spider webs, type of, situation. And it's already a bit of an issue here, in the community with, rodents and, spiders and insects, and having to get, exterminators come out here on a regular basis to take care of that. And I feel like those type of plants, or evergreens will attract those even more. So I would ask that if that is also being considered, that maybe some other type of privacy plant, be looked at that, may not attract, like I said, spider webs or spiders or even, further insects to bring into this area. We keep our hedges low for that reason as well, but also to reduce the amount of leaves, or, whatever the case may be that are going to be falling off, and having to be cleaned up on a regular basis. So it looks beautiful, your plan, your development, but I am not in favor of it for all those reasons. But I know that this is probably going to happen anyway. So I would just ask that you really just take into consideration the concerns that we are expressing here.
Thank you, Ms. Cordova. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted to say I really do like the design of the project. I consistently drive on Monroe, and there's a number of properties that I think could use a little love, and then also to the fact that if they are being redeveloped, there's just this large apartment building complex with retail. And I really like the fact that this is just single family development. And I think someone said it earlier, like, I like the idea of like pride of ownership. And I think people just feel more comfortable with knowing that they have a house. I know that the yards aren't overly substantial, but thinking about how, my wife and I and our children had to deal with over the last couple of years, and so many of our friends who lived in those situations in a higher density situation didn't have the luxury of just even being able to be outside in their own space. And hopefully we don't go back to that situation, but I just like it for the mere fact that you have that ability, like to just have your own space, barbecue. 3 stories. I'm really glad that seen other developments where this ends up being a condominium complex with a 1-car garage, which ultimately ends up even a worse parking situation. I'm really glad that they put a lot of thought in, and I know the height could probably be an issue to some people, but I do like the fact that they are trying to make an effort to get at least 2 cars and more space and more storage involved into the design. I think that's really key. I mean, there are always times where I think, maybe you get something delivered and, but you have at least 2 spaces. And I think the storage also enables just better use of your overall space. I think there's a lot to offer in all these units in a short or a limited amount of space, as far as amenities, as far as backyard, the EV charger, the storage, and I just think it gives an opportunity for people to really stay in the area. I really enjoy Santa Clara, and I think a lot of people are moving into this area. I've seen a lot of families come in. I think it gives opportunity for them to do that. So I'm in favor of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rudy. You're unmuted now.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm also a neighbor here, 177 in Monroe. I did want to second the concerns of some of my neighbors here, especially concerning parking. And then also the issue of the blind spot, I think is important also. We do have a blind spot turning left. In terms of height, story, yeah, with 3 stories, I do have a window that's facing down there too. We will be losing some of the view on the blue sky, but talking about having privacy in your own space, well, we'd be losing some of that too by virtue of such a tall building, being able to see in our direction, parties and barbecues in the backyard, etc. So I do have concerns about this. I will say that it'd be nice if you'd have like a 3D isometric view of the ensemble here to kind of be able to visualize what it would look like. I presume you have 3D models of this. It's kind of hard to visualize what it's going to look like and the proportions between what you're building and the buildings nearby. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Rossi. And I would like to make a comment on the fact that since a number of speakers have talked about the 3rd floor issue, that is one of the reasons why the homeowner of the project, the land property owner, wants to do single family here, because with single family, you have space between houses, you have gaps, you have air and light coming in. If it were a fortress, as one of the speakers put it, if it were a fortress with multifamily, you have windows continuously on the 3rd floor looking out towards you, and no space in between. It'll be a continuous wall. So we already kind of minimize the impact by choosing this particular product. So just to add on to the earlier explanation about why we chose this product. Thank you.
So I do see that there is a question in the chat. I think it also refers, are there sketches of the 3-story buildings?
We don't have
some elevations.
Yeah, we don't have a model yet, but we will prepare one. per Mr. De Rossi's request. I think it's a good idea, and we'll show how we plug it into, for example, like this map now on the screen. We can plug it in, and so you can visualize it. Sure, we will do that. Thank you.
I see you have your hand raised. Did you have other questions? I addressed the question that you had put in the chat.
Yes, yes. I have a question to you, actually.
Sure.
Do you have the legislation around rezoning to PUD or PD? So what are the situations that you can rezone? How and what are the rules and so on and so forth? There is very little information online. I wanted to ask you that.
So your question is if they can rezone to PD? Sorry, I did not understand your question completely.
My question is, do you have a PDF of the law regarding PD rezoning?
Yeah, sure. Those are available. Our zoning code is available on the city's website. And I can actually email that to you. I think I probably have your email address, so I can just email the link to you.
I mean, I looked at some of the documents on the county website, but there is little information about PD.
So just to make a note, so you would have to look not the county but the city's website, and so on the City of Santa Clara's website, there is a zoning code available, Title 18, which has I can tell you what section that is of the. Or I could just share the link with you by email.
Link would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Title 18 and the section is, yeah, sorry about that. Just looking through it. I will share that link with you.
Would be
not
awesome.
able
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah, it's not opening up right now.
Thank you. And to Margie's point, again, a question to you. How much is the impact of our comments here to the project? So we are sharing our concerns, but does it change the trajectory of the project? Us being concerned, will it make the project a fully two-story building or decrease the number of buildings in the project? To what extent should we expect an impact?
So it is up to the developer to address the concerns as much as they can. For city, we would definitely, like the concerns to be addressed to the extent possible. Also, we would have to make sure that if they are adhering to the zoning and the zoning regulations, then there would be a limitation to addressing all of the concerns, maybe. But we would have to make sure that the project is still able to move forward, since we have had like mixed comments here. But I believe the developer is going to try and address the comments as much as possible. Anthony, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think you cover it. Yes, and I will, of course, after this meeting, I'll discuss with the project sponsor, of course, and work further with planning and find some solutions there. And ultimately, it's up to the city council's, final decision there. So that's it. Yeah.
That's correct. This application is a rezoning application, so it would be heard at the Planning Commission, and then it would go to the City Council for approval. So there will be multiple opportunities to view the revision to the plans, and also to voice your concerns if you still see any concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at the chat here, and it's there is a question here from Patricia. If we can show the timeline again one time.
Oh, sure.
So I would just like to add to this timeline that between the Planning Commission and City Council meeting, there's typically 8 weeks of time. That's so it would be, this is, the project is still being reviewed internally by the departments. So once the project is deemed complete by all the departments, then it will be scheduled for the Historical Landmark Commission. So between now and, so this is like really a tentative schedule, and it will really depend on when the project is complete at the Project Clearance Committee, where it is being reviewed currently by the departments internally. And that's the timeline for the project. Okay, I see more hands. Rudy?
Yes, I do have a quick question in terms of due diligence the city's doing. What due diligence do you do in terms of determining that all the comments are from neighbors, and that there's a fair representation of all the neighbors? Thank you.
So all the comments will be taken in, and they will be summarized in the staff report to the Planning Commission and to all the hearing bodies. So just so that they have a clear idea of the concerns, and also all public comments will be shared at the hearings. So I see 2 more raised hand. Margie, sorry.
Hi, yes. I'm just curious about your garbage situation. So just to give you an idea, currently here at 177 Monroe Street, we each have a trash bin assigned to us in addition to recycling bins and greenery bins, for lack of better words. And on a weekly basis, we put them out on the front, curbside, which takes up about, the first 2 parking spaces directly in front of the building. And there's no signage, indicating that on such and such date, it's garbage night, please don't park here, etc. So we just have to take our chances every time we put our garbage bins out and hope that there's no cars there, or just leave them out on the grass, curb area until, the cars are moved, and then, put them, out on the street. So I'm curious, in reference to the development that, is being created here, what that garbage situation is going to look like. Are you going to have individual bins, and it's going to be the same situation with us and putting them out on the curbside, or are you going to have, I guess, industrial type, large, green garbage cans, that get picked up, differently, or what's the plan on that?
Sure, Ms. Cordova. As Nimisha said, we are in the process of having the plans being reviewed. And one of the department is I think it's called environmental, is handling the solid waste. And the comment we get so far is that they have decided that they will not drive into the private drive down the middle. So they want us to show how we line up the bins in the front on the pickup days. And that is why we leave such a big front there, so that we actually have enough length there to put the bins. And so the next step here is to show them the bins and make sure it's enough length to house all the cans and bins and everything. So there won't be any, so I should also add that they are only carts. I should not say bins, because the bins are the big ones. So they would not be a big bin, a metallic bin put in a trash enclosure. There'll be individual carts for single families, and the homeowners will roll it out to the curbside, on pickup day. I shouldn't say curbside, is in that green area there. And the garbage truck will then pick it up along Monroe. So that's the arrangement that we have with that department so far. Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like it's the same situation that we currently have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia, I see that you have your hand raised, and I don't know if you addressed your concern yet or not, or question yet or not.
No, I just have a quick procedural question for you, Namisha. Mr. Ho mentioned the houses were not historically significant. What's the trigger for the property to go to HLC?
So one, this property these are homes located in the Old Court area. Two, that they are within 200 feet of the Washington Ballpark here, which is on the HRI, Historical Resource Inventory. And that's the trigger that it would need to go to the Historical Landmark Commission.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
So we have one more raised hand, which is Mike.
Yeah, just 2 quick points. On the diagram, you have approximately in front of the 2-story houses, it looked like 14 feet, if I read that correctly.
Correct. Correct, Mike. Yes.
Maybe you could add parking spots, one on each side or one there. That would help with some of the parking concerns. And then secondly, on the schedule, when it's going to the planning commission and all that, can we be notified of those upcoming meetings so that we can hopefully by then attend in person and voice our opinions? That would be for the city.
Certainly. So there is the project webpage on the city's website, and or you could email me to be added to the interested parties list. So we will notify you via email. For all the hearings, the notices are sent out to certain radius. Maybe I have to look that up. Maybe 300 feet radius. All the properties within the 300 feet radius are notified of any hearings, public hearings. But you can. I'm going to type my email address in the chat, and just email me to be added on the interested parties list so that you're notified.
I'm sorry, I get notices from the city for all the upcoming meetings, city, library, all that. So I would be automatically already on there.
Yeah. Yes. So we do.
Your email for anybody else.
Yes, I can definitely type my email address in here, and that would be an additional email from me to everybody to make sure that they're aware of any development on this project. Any hearings or anything further on this project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And Mr. Walkie, we actually, throughout the design process, we had contemplated putting guest parking in the front. But then later on, when we work with the solid waste staff, they worry about, like, do we have enough space now then to put the carts out there during pickup days? So maybe, it depends on the outcome of that calculation. Maybe we have one, and not both sides, because we got to save some space for the trash pickup area. So, yes.
I understand. It was just, I was looking at the 14 foot there, and I'm like, wow, that normal parking spot's 8 foot. So
yeah, right. You're right. Absolutely correct. Yes. And also, we thought at one time that it looks more attractive, if we see more green. But if parking becomes a major concern, then yes, we might consider that. And because you can't get everything, so we can, use the space for parking rather than for greeneries. So yeah. Thank you for the suggestion. Yes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ho, for presenting this. I really like this plan, and just by listening to you tonight, it sounds like you're really willing to work with the residents and the neighborhood. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, we are very willing to. Yes, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the developer or for the city? I see one more raised hand. Still have some time, so Rudy, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in terms of putting parking there, I don't know if you saw my comment, that's potentially where there's a blind spot that we're having because people are parking there. And so that's a safety issue. I think that also the city should take into consideration.
Sure. Could you elaborate on what blind spot are you referring to?
So if you're coming out of the 177 driveway, you're trying to turn left, you go high, bring your mouse higher up, right? You have a blind spot if you're trying to turn left onto the street because people are parking right up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can certainly take that into consideration.
Right. So maybe if we put one, we probably put it on this side, sounds like, so that, you can clear the vision on this end, possibly.
Yeah. Can certainly.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. De Rossi.
So, Anthony, do you want to have any concluding comments?
No, I don't. And thank you all of you for attending. And of course, all these will take into serious consideration, and I'll discuss with the project sponsor and with planning further, so that we can, bring you a good development here. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining the community meeting, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.